This is the raw, real, uncut story of the aftermath of Hurricane Helene, which hit North Carolina earlier this year. This is coming directly from the people who had to survive the storm, or those that are there volunteering and helping clean up the aftermath. These interviews are from a little town called Pensacola, where there was a camp of volunteers set up. These interviews are from 1 to 2 months after the storm had happened. This is the boots on the ground perspective of those that are there living it. We all have a different perspective, and we all saw different things. If you want my perspective, you can go back to video number 186 on this YouTube channel. As far as these interviews go, I wanted to tell the whole in-depth story. These interviews are one of the hardest things that I've ever had to do. I've really struggled hard with posting these videos, but the world needs to know what's really happening out there and what these poor people have had to go through. This isn't about politics or views or anything like that. This is simply about telling the story firsthand and in depth. All I'm trying to do is figure out the best way to help these people by any means possible. I ask everyone to please stay positive and to not post negative comments about these brave people who are telling their stories. Seeing all the destruction was one of the hardest things I've ever had to witness. But at the same time, watching everyone come from all over the country with different backgrounds and different beliefs and all working together to help their fellow human was one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen. I'm starting to realize these same problems are being encountered in every natural disaster. Please, let's work together to try and find solutions that will help these people. Thanks, everyone. This is hands down the hardest interview I've ever had to do. What this man and his family had to go through and witness is absolutely heartbreaking. Michael here is just a super chill guy that got thrown into an extreme set of circumstances. And under extremely stressful situations where their lives were literally on the line, he was able to keep his head and become a hero. To help everyone understand the depth of what's happening here, I guess I'll explain what's going on. Where we are standing is at the base of the 6th highest mountain east of the Mississippi. They were experiencing severe flood conditions. And then the hurricane hit. Where they are is way inland and not anywhere near the coast. It's also elevated and not right next to any water, so you think it'd be okay. But when that hurricane came to the already flooded land, it just sat there and drenched, I think, 28 inches of water right on top of them. And in turn, it turned the hillsides into mud and mush. And it created avalanches, basically, landslides of mud and trees and homes and debris and anything in its path. It just washed it away. And all these little creeks and runoff ditches that were just tiny little spaces that were just a couple feet wide turned into massive landslides full of trees and debris and just absolute chaos and destruction. And that's where this man's house was right at the bottom of one of these massive landslides. There were many homes that got destroyed there in that area on Cottail Road. I don't like to show the bad stuff, and even if I did show it, pictures do no justice of how devastating this truly is. These landslides, you can just see a little bit, but they go miles up the mountain. And this enormous landslide came out into this little community down at the bottom of the mountain, which was also on the side of the river further down. So a couple hundred more yards down the mountain from where we were standing, those homes got the worst of both worlds. They got the landslide, and they got the flooding from the creek that turned into a massive overflowing river. The creeks and rivers rose by over 30 feet and grew to be hundreds of yards wide. And those raging rivers went so far beyond the normal floodplain, it's unimaginable. And they unfortunately took everything in their path. I personally worked with well over 30 people to try and help clean up that area. And I saw hundreds more come and go through the camp that I know that were part of helping in that area as well. And all these people were volunteers that were complete strangers and had no idea who each other were. They were working extremely hard for free and doing it all out of their own pocket and the kindness of their own heart. Seeing everyone put everything aside and work together to help their fellow man was one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen. It was truly the best of humanity. There were mistakes made by some people, but the mistakes of the few can't outweigh the good deeds of the many. It was an extremely heartbreaking situation to be in because there was just no one else there to help those people besides us volunteers. And we were just doing all we could to try and figure it out any way we could. Society always wants to seem to focus on the negative things in life. People want to turn things into political issues or fight and argue. And I'm just simply not trying to do that. I've been very reluctant to try and post this because I don't want it to turn into some political issue. I want to keep it positive and search for solutions. All I'm doing is looking for the best way to try and help these poor people that have been through so much. And all I want to do is help figure out a way to help people in the future who are going to go through these same kind of issues. I'm just looking for solutions, any way I can find them. Let's work together to help figure out ways to efficiently help these people the best way possible. Let's brainstorm ideas. The best thing I could come up with was a Facebook page that directly connects volunteers to the people in need and eliminates the middleman and creates maximum efficiency. If anyone out there has any ideas to try and help make things better, please share them far and wide. Thanks, everyone. I appreciate you guys following along and keeping up. And without further ado, here's this man's incredible story. All right, so I'm out here with Micheal.
Yeah.
And your house here, you were right here in the middle of one of the worst spots I've seen. And I've been working out here a little bit, and I've had the pleasure enough to meet you and try and do what I can in any way to plug away. And I know you've had to see a lot. What do you think of this stuff, man? I mean, what do you think? I know you've had to see a lot, and it's just I don't know if you felt like sharing your story of what you told me earlier, but that was pretty remarkable. I don't know if you wanted to go in that depth, but
Yeah, I definitely can. I mean, we've been out here for about 3.5 years. We bought this place. It was abandoned for about 15 years, and I've been working on it myself, kind of funneling all my funds into this place, to build this house for our family.
Yeah. It's a beautiful house too. Yeah, you've done amazing.
Yeah, it's coming along. We had a cabin that was kind of behind me up here on the hill. It was a little 2-story that I kind of renovated and we were living in up until recently. And yeah, so a few days before the storm, we moved into our house kind of prematurely, because I was helping one of my buddies and his wife. They needed somewhere to stay. So my wife and I moved out of the little cabin and into the main house, and my friend was moving into the little cabin, and then the storm hit a few days after that, and we went through probably what I would say was the hardest thing that we've gone through in our lives. My friend and I, Lucas, stayed up until about 6 o'clock in the morning cleaning out storm drains through our community so the road wouldn't wash out. About 6 o'clock, the water seemed to kind of slow down a little bit, and we decided that we were good. And in the morning we would get up around 11:30 and kind of repair the bridge the road to the bridge that had washed out some, and that we would be fine. Didn't go that way. About 6:20, I had my neighbor across the street busting in my front door and saying that the cabin was coming down. And so after less than 20 minutes of laying down, I'm running back to the front of my house and watching my 2-story cabin with my friend and his wife in it collapse and wash into our house, along with about 20-foot waves. And it was probably 50 to 60 feet wide, just rushing through here with large trees and debris. I couldn't believe what I saw. I thought I was having a nightmare and that I'd just wake up. And obviously that wasn't the case. I thought I might have just watched my friend and his wife die. And I immediately ran down the stairs to the lower door to try to get to them, because the top part of the structure which they were in was somewhat intact. But luckily they somehow escaped and crawled through a crack in the door, and were barely unscathed. Like, they had minor injuries, but nothing that was too serious where we had to worry about their health. So I don't know how they survived. We're talking trees 4 or 5 foot in diameter, and 50, 60 feet long, like hundreds of them piling up, and 20-foot waves of mud and water crashing around us, and winds that they had to have been 100 miles an hour or more. I mean, the whole house sounded like a freight train was running through it during all of this, and the rain was so heavy that you really couldn't see but a few feet in front of you.
And it went around both sides of your house.
It went around both sides, yes.
Wow, that's a tough house, man.
I thought the first thing I thought to myself was that the house was next. You know, the house was coming next. So I kind of instructed my wife to grab a quick bag of clothes, and I got clothes for Alex and Lucas, and my neighbor was in the house as well with us. That was across the street. I went upstairs. The bridge upstairs was gone. So I threw a countertop over the back door up to the bank, and we all went single file out the back door and kind of followed the bank through the storm to exit the house because I thought the house would just wash away. When I was leading everybody kind of single file on the side of the mountain, a large tree crashed in front of me, like maybe 10 feet or so. And I thought that, you know, this might be it, you know, like I thought the house and everything was coming down, you know, the side of the mountain was coming down. So I kind of double timed everybody to the neighbors. Our neighbor Mike, he was not in good spirit. He was sitting on his steps and in distress and unable to move. And he had about a foot of water running through his house from the back to the front. So once I got everybody inside Mike's, I looked up and saw that our next neighbor over, Juanita's, the water was running away from her house and wasn't really touching her house. So I thought that might have been the best spot for us to be at the time. So I got everybody together and let them know, like, you know, trying to get everybody's mind right. Everybody was in pretty heavy distress, obviously.
Right.
But we did the same thing. We did single file, just watch for the person behind and in front of you. And we walked through Juanita's and kind of hiked over all of the brush, got to underneath Juanita's house, and a tree was crashed on top of her stairwell going up to her house. So I had to get the debris off enough to where everybody could crawl through the debris up the stairwell and into her house. We got that handled, and the neighbor Mike's house that we just left wasn't able to leave with us. He didn't want to go, and he said he just couldn't make it physically. So I told everybody, once I got everybody in Juanita's, that I was going back for Mike because I couldn't leave him there. So I went by myself back over to Mike's and pretty much told him, you know, I'm going to carry you. If you don't come, I'm carrying you over there. Like, you're leaving. You're not dying here.
Right. You're a freaking hero, man.
And yeah, it's just, you know, I couldn't live with that on my conscience, you know.
Yeah, man, but you put yourself out there to go help them, and that's a beautiful thing. Yeah. Man, thank you.
Yeah, and that's just what you got to do for people, you know. Like,
yeah,
you can't, people are having a hard time in that situation, you know. And I was fortunate enough to be able to be level-headed enough and stable enough to get everybody, you know, what they needed, even if they didn't know what they needed at the time, you know.
And I would imagine how it's so terrifying. I mean, this landslide came down right through here, and you don't know if the land's going to stay or go. And there's trees, and there's just everything, water, and I'm sure you're pretty much trapped here, weren't you?
Yeah, we were definitely trapped. There was nowhere to go. Juanita's was pretty much our last resort, besides either going up over the mountain and hoping that, you know, there was no slides that way, and that was the only option because the riverhead ran through the whole neighborhood and kind of cut us off to where there was nowhere to go. So it was kind of our last hope right there.
So how long did you stay here, and were you able to get out, or what happened after that? I mean,
yeah, so we stayed in Juanita's until about 2:00 that afternoon. And that's when most of the rain and winds had finally subsided, and I went out and scouted back towards our house, and my buddy Lucas ended up coming with me, and we were able to salvage some things to get him clothes, and we got other people clothes and food and things, and then we just started assessing damage, and it was really just like, all right, we need somebody cooking, everybody needs to eat, we need to hydrate and things like that. And then I went out and started to scout towards the end of the neighborhood. And at this point, there was probably about a 5 or 6 foot river running through the middle of our community still at this point. So it wasn't anything that a lot of people in our community are getting closer to the elderly age, and they're not going to be able to hike out of here.
Right.
But there's a small group of us that could. So I went to go scout for that. But there was trees, like hundreds of trees down like through the neighborhood, and
Sure, electric lines and stuff.
Yeah,
I mean, I bet that was dangerous.
Yeah.
I know I seen them all along the road coming up through here. I don't know if they're still alive or not, but
yeah, and that's
it's
the
just-
thing, you don't know. So
Yeah.
it's in there, they were tangled in there like spaghetti through there, like so it was, it was pretty dangerous. So I ended up hiking to like where our bridge is, which is probably like 1/8 of a mile, and what I saw was like extremely hard for me to comprehend. It was like a river canyon instead of just a small creek. I didn't even recognize where I was at. I got turned around in my own home.
Wow.
Because the destruction was so large. There was nothing to see that, like, any point of reference, and nothing was familiar to me any longer. And it was like the road was literally missing. It wasn't just like covered up, it was literally missing. Like part of the mountain is missing. And
Wow. I know you said this stream was originally like a couple inches deep, and
Yeah.
just a foot. I mean, you said when
Yeah.
it would rain normally, it would get like a foot deep, you
maybe
said?
a foot deep at the most. Yeah, and about a foot wide. It was
Yeah.
very
And so
small.
just a couple inches deep and a foot wide, and that's
Yeah.
all this was.
Yeah.
I'm-
And this is cleaned up too.
I know the tree guys that we had from Missouri, they came in there and there was
Yeah.
just a log jam there, unlike anything I'd ever seen.
Yeah, I mean, and that's amazing what these guys have done, in this short amount of time.
Yeah.
I still can't believe that. But yeah, so when I was down there by the creek, well, what then was a river,
Right.
and it had large rapids like that, 10 to 15 foot big rapids, waves dumping through there. And just very violent, like heavy debris everywhere, large trees in the middle of it, just getting swept down like very fast. Like, I couldn't believe it. So I knew we needed to get out to get help somewhere, and so I kept hiking to scout around the curve of the bend of the river to see if there was a way that I might be able to get across somewhere. And there wasn't, but along the way I did stumble across people that were swept up on the bank that didn't make it in the storm, which was
I'm sorry, man.
which was really hard to see that. Some people were young people as well. Obviously you don't want anybody, but even just to see young people in there, like I didn't know any of them personally, but they were neighbors,
Yeah, man.
and they're people.
Yeah, man. I'm sorry.
So it's pretty, pretty hard to see, but
Man, I'm sorry.
yeah, man, yeah.
Do you want to take a break? Or? All right, man. All right, man.
Yeah. So I hiked as far as I could before everything kind of just washed out, and we're at like 20-foot cliffs, and there was just no way for us to cross. Like, it wasn't going to be possible. So I came back, I hiked back, and I figured if we had about 3 days with no rain, that the creek would subside some, and maybe I could get across then. So I came back and I made a game plan for the 4 of us, my wife, Lucas, and his wife, to prepare to hike out in a few days, and so we could go get help for everybody in here. because we were the only ones that were healthy enough to make the journey. And so we grabbed the packs and the things that we had left, and just kind of made a game plan, and we had enough supplies to pack in and hike in and camp for 2 days. So we got everything set up, and we just kind of waited. And later that evening, the rain came back and picked up fairly heavily again. And you talk about being nervous, you know.
Oh man, I can only imagine.
Yeah,
I didn't know how long it had went. So all the time that from this happened, was this like one day, all the same day?
Yeah,
or?
so this was 6 o'clock in the morning, and then now we're in the evening. When I came back and things is getting closer to the evening, and then we stayed in the house actually that evening because it was getting crowded in Juanita's, and we just needed space, you know. So yeah, the next morning I woke up, you know, and it's all rain and muck, and I'm like, well, we're not going again. We're gonna have to stay again. So that day we just kind of hung out. I said we need to hydrate and you know, cook any food that we still have left. We need to cook it, and we need to be eating as well as we can and resting and saving our energy, because we're gonna have to hike out of here. So we did that. We just kind of took it pretty easy, and it was okay. That day went by pretty quickly. The following day, it was still, the river was still pretty high, and I was like, it's still not passable. So we're here again, like same game plan, you know, hydrate and eat. So about lunchtime on the third day, the little creek basin that's here, the water had stopped flowing through here, and was only flowing through the road. The water had diverted up top and was going around the road, which was good at the time, because it's getting away from our house.
Right.
Well, I noticed at lunchtime when I came out on the porch that the water had risen about 3 feet in there and was running again. And I was, you know, and so I hollered for Lucas. Him and I ran up the mountain a little bit and found where there was a rock slide, and it had diverted the water back towards our house. So him and I took turns, you know, throwing stones and picking up stones, and trying to move the rock slide to divert the water away from the house. And at this point, we're pretty exhausted and tired, so it was already taxing on us. We were kind of just sitting and taking turns.
Sure, you hadn't been eating very well either. So
yeah,
sure.
I mean, we had, you know, ate the food that we had, and then, you know, it's taxing going back and forth, because you know, the day that I was relaxing and things, it was really me like going to other people and helping them with things in the community that they needed.
And I'm sure you weren't sleeping either. I mean,
no sleep, and I didn't sleep, you know, that previous night I hadn't slept for 48 hours before I laid down, and slept for maybe 3, you know.
Man.
But while we were up there stacking stones and diverting the water, a small helicopter flew in overhead and was hovering around the field that's maybe 200 yards from here. And Lucas and I stopped doing the stones and ran through 2 houses that got washed away. That was just debris. We ran through that. I don't know how we did it, but we ran through and got out to the field and kind of signaled him, like, hey, we're out here, you know, like.
Right.
And he kind of spun around and got really low and kind of gave us a thumbs up, and then flew out of here. And I told Lucas, I said, somebody's going to come get us now. Like, they know we're in here. And so we immediately came back to the house, and we kind of spread the word that, you know, a helicopter had made contact with us, and, you know, we have a possibility of somebody coming up here, you know. But we weren't sure, so we all kept our packs packed for our hike if we had to. But my wife and Lucas's wife Alex, they both were like, no, we're gonna get out of here. We have a feeling that somebody's gonna come. And sure enough, a few hours later, I could hear that helicopter coming.
All right.
And I knew that it was a military helicopter. My father's a Marine and air crew, and I knew that, you know, I'd been around it my whole life, and I could hear it coming. And I said, no, that's a military helicopter. They're gonna come get us. And sure enough, I could see it come over the trees, over the mountain. And I just told people, you know, get your stuff, pack, have a bag, grab a bag, and, you know, for a few nights, and let's go. Like, everybody pack stuff and go. Like, we're gonna get out of here.
Get out here. Yeah.
And we got everybody to the field. And sure enough, they came back down and landed in the field nearby. And at first, they weren't taking anybody. They were taking medical emergencies. Luckily, two of our neighbors had a medical emergency with medicine, and we were able to get them on and get them out. And then as that was happening, the local ground crew came in up on rafts and things.
Wow.
And they all came out of the woods, like jumping out of the woods, like running towards the helicopter. And I was like, you know, who is this? Like, who are these people? You know, like, where do they come from? You know, I didn't know any of these guys. Like where were these people the whole time? You know, like, I didn't realize they were rescue at that time. I thought they were just like local people somewhere that got trapped.
Right.
And they weren't. They ended up being the rescue crew.
Oh, wow.
And like sheriffs and things like that from nearby counties that were coming in, that all came in collectively. And
so was it just volunteers, or was it government, or was it just everybody, all hands on deck? Anybody?
Yeah,
anybody?
everybody. Like, yeah, there was a couple local guys that were able to make it in here that kind of knew the area, and then you had sheriffs, and you had rangers, and like all kinds of people that just kind of came together, and they had search and rescue groups, and they were radioing to the military, to the Army, and they were flying down. So they touched down here again. And they started picking people up, and we had three loads of people get helicoptered out of here.
Wow, were they military helicopters then, or was
they
it
were
the
Blackhawks? Yeah.
Oh, wow, wow.
The Crash Hawks.
Yeah, really? I didn't know that.
It's not a good thing. They don't like that.
Oh yeah.
No, but it was amazing. Like, it was a crazy experience. Like, we had our dog with us the whole time and stuff. And
so your dog got to go on the helicopter ride,
he
huh?
had a helicopter ride.
Oh wow, that's cool. I don't know very many dogs that have ever been on a helicopter ride.
He was fine too. He just kind of laid down, and which I was kind of surprised.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, we flew out of here, and as we were leaving, my wife has a video out the window of where the landslide is, and it's long. It's like miles long up through here.
Oh, really? So it's more than just that right there?
Yeah. It snakes up there way back. So.
Oh wow.
It's pretty incredible.
Was that the actual military then that was here, or was it FEMA, or who was it?
Yeah, it was the military. Yeah.
It was the military, the National Guard, or
I believe the helicopter was an Army helicopter. The guys in it, they were definitely Army operators. I could see, I could by their uniform and stuff like that. But
have you seen FEMA out here, or have they done anything to help you?
I've seen FEMA out here. They haven't done any. They gave us a denial letter a couple weeks ago, and I don't know how the man was standing here taking pictures before anything was cleaned up, and was very thorough. But they just sent us a letter, so we appealed it, but nothing.
So they haven't given you $1 or nothing?
No, we got $750 when we first signed up for like an emergency fund. They give you, and it's kind of like an automatic.
Yeah, it was $750 when you lost.
Yeah.
I mean, so much. I know you said your Jeep and all your stuff got washed away. Your shed, all your tools.
Yeah, I lost my business worth of tools that were in the shed. And
oh man,
obviously our cabin that we were living in, that was going to be our rental to help pay our mortgage. I'm not a wealthy person. I'm just out here trying to make it.
And I'm sure that wasn't covered by insurance, huh?
No, there's no flood insurance. We don't. We live in the mountains. We don't really have floods. Like it just doesn't happen, you know. Like this
You
stuff
wouldn't
doesn't
expect
happen
it.
here.
Yeah, that's unheard of, and that's just, it's so heartbreaking because I see it all through the community that whether it's a millionaire or somebody that just has $30,000 worth of stuff, it all got washed away, and there's no way that they can get anything for it. There's no insurance, there's no nothing, and they still lost it. It doesn't matter, and so it's just heartbreaking for everyone. Everyone's lost so much, and it's just. I can't even put it into words. I mean, people have lost homes, but and everything. I mean, it's just everyone's lost so much, and there's no way to recoup it, and there's nothing in place. There's no government. There's no nothing. You guys are just lost, and it's heartbreaking, and that's what I'm trying to do is just try and figure out some kind of way to help out all you guys, because this is so hard to see, man. It's.
Yeah, I mean, so far, you know, the help here though has been overwhelming, just from, you know, local and then people coming in from all over the country. I've met people, you know, like you. I've met people that I would have never met, you know, that are just coming in like, hey, what can we do?
Right.
Some people just show up, like some people show up with equipment. Some people don't have anything, and they just show up because they're able-bodied and they want to help. I mean, I've met people from all over the country, and you know, like that kind of help is like incredible. Like just the cleanup here on my property that has happened in the past week, like it's something that I wouldn't have been able to do or afford for myself. You know, I had, you know, hundreds of large trees here.
Yeah.
Like you have to have heavy equipment.
And it was random because I just brought George up here because he came from Pennsylvania, and I met him at Camp Miller, and they were just like, hey, can you give me a ride home? And I was like, sure. Before I give you a ride home, you want to go look up here and maybe see if you guys want to check out a little bit of work? And he came up here, and they were the part of the crew that were in here helping clean up, man. And that just and that's when I met you the first time, because I came up here showing them, and you're like, hey man, what's going on? I'm like, I'm just trying to make sure these guys are, I want to make sure everybody's busy working, you know, and putting going where they're needed. And I just old George and Uriah and Ian and all of them, Tim, they came down here, and I'm sure they made this place look a lot different. I know there were other crews here before them too. I don't know who they were, but
there's just a bunch of people in there. Heath and Heath, he did a lot here. He didn't want to leave, you know. He's like, I don't want to leave it unfinished.
But he came in.
I mean, it's just amazing. Yeah, I mean, Uriah and Timmy, and Rick and his Uriah's son Ian. They came in. They were, I mean, amazing.
That kid was just learning how to learn how to drive a skid steer, man. He learned on this.
Yeah, and he was doing it, and I'm just like, man, like, it was unbelievable, and like the help and the kindness, and it's not even just the help that was being provided by people here. It's like the mentality and like the patience that the people that are donating their time have with. I mean, you know, they actually cared, you know, bring like, hey, I found this, is this yours, you know, or like digging things out. We'll give you options, like, do you want us to do this? What did it look like? I'll fix it to this, you know. And I'm just like, I don't know. I mean, you know, you're running the equipment, you know.
Right. Oh man.
But it's just, it's pretty amazing, like what has already happened here. And you know, I'm sure there's still going to be some people come and continue to help. And I don't know. Hopefully, at some point, I'll be able to get back in a position where I can, like, you know, donate some more of my time to help people as well. It's really hard being the one accepting help when I was usually the one giving it, you know.
And it's just, you can only do so much, man. And that's why I came out here, is because and then I've stayed out here. I originally planned to stay for 3 days, and I've been out here a month. And I realized that it's more than any one community or any people could handle. It's just so immense, and that it's going to take a lot of hands and a lot of work. And I empathize with you guys on such a deep level. And if this happened to my community, and it was more than we could ever handle, I'd want people to try and help us. And it's just, I'm a real community oriented person. And I love being able to see people come together. There's a silver lining to all this, that people can still come together and put their differences aside and not care. But it's heartbreaking to witness, and it's so hard. But I have faith that if we can fix it and rebuild it and make it back and just as good, if not better than it was before. It's just going to be a little patience, and it's so hard, but we're going to need a lot of work and a lot of help, and it's just like you said, you're doing all you can. I mean, that's it. Yeah, you've lost. You've lost your business. You've lost your extra house. You've lost. We're trying to prop up your house to keep it from coming because it sank down a couple inches. I mean, the water went around both sides and it's made it sink. And that's what this lumber here is for right now. Trying to brace it up and get it braced up. So it's just it's just so much. I know it's more than you could ever handle, and it's more than any group. I mean, we've been here a lot. There's been a lot of people here, and it's still more. So
yeah, I mean, it's been amazing, and it's just another journey that that we're taking in life, and you just gotta take it day by day.
Right. And I know it's always hard to ask for help, but man, you guys need it. You guys need it more than anybody I've ever seen in my life. This is heartbreaking, and I'm that same person, but if I was in your shoes, I would be asking for help too, because it's just so much. It's so much, and there's just you've lost so much, and I'm sorry you've had to witness this, brother.
Yeah, I mean, I appreciate you and like all the things that you've personally done for us. Helping us with things,
Oh, no problem, man. I'm just a puzzle piece. I'm just trying to help out, man. And I appreciate you being the hero, man. You kept your calm head, and it seems like you led people, and you did a lot for this community and for these people, and you did a lot in a time of clutch and a time of crunch. You came through, and that's hard to do. And I commend you for all you've done, brother.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I mean, at the time, it's not something I was,
ready.
I wasn't worried about it, I've always been some type of leader in life, whether it's through work or family and things like that, and this time was no different. I don't know, I had a calmness about me that I don't know, I can't really explain it. I was very calm in the situation, and I knew that I had to be for everybody here. And now that situation is over, I don't have to protect a bunch of people and things. It's I don't know. It's different now, trying to accept the help. Going from the leader to somebody who's like, hey, I need help.
Right.
But I'm glad that you all are here, and that you've made a huge impact on our lives here, and
Well, I appreciate you letting us come and try and help, man. And I'm glad we could just help do something, man. And I say it all the time. We can eat an elephant one bite at a time, man. And it's just we're eating away at this elephant,
Yeah.
We're making progress. So we just got to keep getting on. I mean, I know it's past the necessity stage of like saving people and getting trees off houses and stuff, but we're still building roads, and we're still propping up houses, and we're still trying to rebuild sheds and get people's lives back together. So I really appreciate you telling your story and being open and just sharing with me. I know it's got to be hard, but it's something that hopefully we could just, from what I've seen and putting my hands on, we need more people here donating hands-on, and that's the most important thing. I mean, obviously financial is a great thing too, but as far as efforts to come help clean up, I'm trying to get people out here, and you sharing your story is going to help a lot of people you may not even know, but everything has like a ripple, and it's like a pebble, and this story may reach somebody else, and they'll go help somebody build their house or do something or help some other, and it's just, you never know how this universe works, man. And I know it's a hard story to tell, but I appreciate you telling it, because it's just it's something that I want to try and help do, is just help everybody. And I'm getting ready to start a website to where we can connect those in need directly to those that want to help, because there just seems to be a lot of confusion in between, and just to maximize all our efforts and maximize the efficiency, and everybody can see where it goes to straight to stuff like this, Yeah. And so I'm trying to do what I can with what I got, and I really appreciate your time, Michael.
Yeah, man. Yeah, of course.
I appreciate you, brother.
Yeah,
so
appreciate you.
Awesome, man.
Awesome.
Is there anything else you want to say or do, or say anything to out there?
I guess be kind to your neighbors, and if there's something small, do something small for one of your neighbors. Maybe that it's unexpected. Something small. Do something small, even for a random person. Open the door, hold the door open for them. Ask them how they're doing, and actually mean it. Maybe something like that. Could change somebody's day. A lot of people have been having bad days around in our area. And something small like that helps. Just asking how they're doing. Don't take things for granted. Your life could end at any moment here. I've learned that. You don't know when your time is, and you should really just be cherishing life a little more, and living more intentionally. Love people a little more. Give them a few seconds. When you meet somebody, don't just look at them and judge them on face value. Give them a few seconds. Talk to them. You never know. I think the world needs a little bit of that. I think that could go a long way.
It's a beautiful thing, man. That's a beautiful thing. Thank you, brother. Thank you, brother. Thanks, man.